for you if the price goes down. So that's a little bit more about Autopilot, about myself, how I started it with Zach, but happy to answer any questions you might have or dive a little bit deeper into anything.
I want to add just on the change fees because I think it's important to note at the time that my boss, prior to the pandemic, would book out 9 flights in advance. Okay. And we would always look for cheap fares. And that's the reason why we book in advance because we don't want to book last minute because we all know last minute tickets go up high. So we book way in advance. When the pandemic hit, American Airlines, by the way, we're executive platinum, like the highest tier
Yeah.
without being concierge care. We're the highest we were executive platinums, and he would book flights that were like 260. Sometimes we book basic economy because look, if you book basic economy with American, it's a one exception. They will let you still get your seat selection. You'll get your bags. You get to still board with your boarding group. You can even still upgrade to first class. So for if you're ever going to book basic economy, the best one is American's one, by the way. Don't book Alaska, don't book United. They're going to have a lot of restrictions. But American had basic economy. So here was the thing. He had to end up canceling when the pandemic hit. He had to cancel 9 tickets in advance. And there was a $200 fee. And some of them, and it was 200 on every one of them. And when he would call in to talk to American and said, you know what? Your plane's not flying. How are you going to charge me a change fee when you can't even fly your planes? Right? It totally makes sense. And they're like, we're sorry, sir. Our policy says we have to charge a fee, $200 fee. He'd argue with him. He says, you're not charging me $200. You're charging me $1,800 because it's $1,800, 200 times 9. So people like my boss, that was the reason why this policy was changed because if that was the case, why do I want to keep on booking tickets speculatively? Because there was a huge change fee. So the airlines had to make this change because they said, well, if we don't change, if we don't get rid of the change fees, people aren't going to book. And if people aren't going to book, we're going to have empty planes. And so they got rid of it. Now, I'm so happy that post-pandemic they got rid of it. But even as executive platinums, we didn't get waived change fees. So that was been one of the best things that came out of the pandemic has been the elimination of the wave of the change fee. And companies like Autopilot is now using that tool to help us. I just want to explain to everyone to see what's happening, how coming out of the pandemic, how that can help us now. And I think it's a fantastic idea. And before the pandemic, this wouldn't be possible because there was a change fee there for you to switch flights or to end a ticket. But without that, this now makes it possible. So just wondering, so some of you may be wondering, why didn't this come along earlier? It's because of that policy, if that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, and one thing to piggyback off that is when you take a step back and look at why the big three airlines introduced basic economy, right? That was to compete with the Spirits and the Frontiers of the world that were able to offer these low cost, as they call them, unbundled fares, which, are very cheap, don't allow a lot of flexibility, don't allow a lot of changes. But when you buy a main cabin fare now, so not basic, but one step above that, you're essentially prepaying, if you will, for the ability to have changes. You're prepaying for essentially a change before you even know that you need to have it. And so when we think about that from Autopilot's perspective, I mean, I don't really ever book a basic economy because I like the flexibility that booking a main cabin does. But for people who are going to book a basic economy, I would only recommend doing that if you know that you are going to be on that flight. There is no way or reason that you are not going to be on that flight. And so, yeah, again, when we think about that, it is essentially buying the main cabin fare allows you to more or less prepay for a ton of various changes, and not just changes, but also cancellations back to either a refund if it's a refundable fare or a voucher for future travel with that airline, usually valid for about a year from the date you cancel the flight.
And Sam, I know Maeve's just threw the question out there. We haven't got into the program yet, but she wants to probably know is this program work not only for the cash fare, but does it also work on points tickets? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So Autopilot works with cash or points fares booked directly with the big three airlines. More airlines are coming soon. So the big three being American Airlines, Delta Airlines, and United Airlines. And this also works with flights that are booked using their points and miles. So you use Delta Sky Miles to fly JFK to Fort Lauderdale. We can track that. Points, since there's not really a good way to do value-based pricing, we do charge a flat monthly fee for the ability to track points, as well as upgrade offers, which we can get into in a little bit. That's on our pro tier. But that's just our way of being able to kind of value align with our customers in a more or less equivalent way that we do with cash fares. The one thing I do want to point out is that tickets that are booked on partner airlines through one of the big three are eligible to be tracked. So, for example, if you book a Lufthansa ticket through United, we are able to track that and track that for savings. The only qualifier is you essentially need to book it through one of the big three airlines.
Okay. Sam, so I just want to clarify. If I book with United Miles on Lufthansa, you can track that. But if the other way doesn't work, if you book with Lufthansa Miles or more on United, that won't track. I just wanted to clarify.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if it was
And
a United ticket on cash, you would book, you could track that.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And so the reason for that is various loyalty programs have very different rules and restrictions that essentially govern how they treat their tickets. And those are known as fare rules. And so in United's fare rules, as a part of their Mileage Plus program, for example, they allow free changes and cancellations up until departure, whereas Lufthansa charges a change fee or a cancellation fee. However, you can physically be sitting in the same seat on the same flight. It's just really more about who you're booking it through, who the booking entity is. And for us, as long as that booking entity is one of the big three airlines, we're able to support it.
Do you anticipate in the future? Because let me just give you a scenario. I know we're talking about free changes and things like that, but let's just say, Aeroplan charges $100 cancellation fee. Do you see in the future something where, I mean, the point saving is valuable enough to me that I would love to see, I would love to book a standard 175,000 fare, point
Yeah,
fare,
yeah.
knowing that it may drop to 88,000. I'm willing to pay the $100 fee and whatever you charge because that point saving is worth it for me. Do you see a future where Autopilot could be able to do that?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think the international airline programs, when I think about this from a US consumer's perspective, who is really our target for Autopilot, Air Canada maybe being the one exception here, just because there are some cross-border flights that somebody might take. When you're booking a flight as a U.S.-based consumer through Air Canada, most likely you're transferring Amex points or Chase points over to Air Canada, and you're booking what's known as a fixed partner award. Now, there are times where you might not be able to find the fixed partner rate, and that's not really available for you to book. That isn't something we're actively focused on, but in the case that you found Lufthansa from JFK to Frankfurt for whatever it is, 60,000 points in business class, that 60,000 is a fixed cost. And so it doesn't necessarily need to be tracked because you know that Lufthansa booked through Air Canada is 60,000 from US to Europe in business class, for example. And so the price on that, on essentially partner award charts, aren't always dynamic. And so, or most of the time, they are actually not dynamic. I guess Delta really being the outlier there. And so, all that to say that we don't have an immediate kind of market to support that, but absolutely in the future, as things unfortunately probably do move a little bit more dynamic, that's something we're actively looking at.
Okay, Sam, I know I'm going so excited and a lot of people have questions here, but I'd love for you to go into the tool and actually show us how it works or what the process and the steps look like. So I'm more than happy to give you the floor for that.
Yeah, awesome. Let me share my screen, and I will show you guys a little bit more of the Autopilot platform. So let me make sure this should be it. I hope this is it.
By the way,
Cool.
folks, if you have not signed up for it, just let me know. I'll put the link in here for Autopilot if you want to sign up for it.
Awesome. Can you all see my screen, the
Yeah.
dashboard here?
Yes.
Cool. So this is a kind of a snapshot of the dashboard when you sign into Autopilot. We are in the middle of reworking the front end, and I will say we have an iOS app that is in the works. So stay tuned for that. I have will have more to share in the not too distant future. So excited to share that. Um, this is really what you'll see when you log in. And so there are kind of two things that you can do here. The first one is add a flight, or you can see an existing reservation that you've already added into Autopilot. So I'll go ahead and just show you what it looks like to add a flight. I can add a dummy one if that would be helpful. But you essentially add your first name, last name, confirmation number, and airline, and then that will show up here. You also have the ability, if you're like, hey, you know what, just take my email access and just automatically import reservations as they come in. We have the ability for you to do that. So you can link a Gmail. You can do that in the account settings. You can just add a Gmail account there. And then finally, as we can go in and see, we can see essentially the routing, the fare that we paid, the current selling price of that exact same fare. And then we can also see essentially the segments that we have here. One other thing that's notable that I think a lot of people might be interested in is the ability to set upgrade offer alerts. And so essentially what that is, okay, so United, or I guess Delta isn't selling a higher cabin for this specific flight. I guess maybe they're sold out. But let's see if I can go into one of the past reservations in here just to demonstrate. Cool. Yeah. So you can see that we can say, all right, I'm flying San Francisco to Los Angeles, and I want you to let me know when Economy Plus using cash drops below $20, for example. Or you can say, you know what, I want to pay first class, and maybe that's $100. And we will essentially let you know when the price to bump up from your current fare to first class or economy plus, whatever you set, triggers that alert. And so that becomes very helpful for people who say, you know what, I have a general rule of thumb. Maybe it's $100 an hour and I'll go up to business class. You can kind of set that here and we'll let you know when that happens. We are moving to a space where we will be able to transact on these upgrade offers very soon. So we will, in the not too distant future, be able to allow you to say, hey, I don't want to get alerted. I want you to just process it and charge my card. And we will have the ability to do that as well.
Sam, is that a fixed price or is that a bidding or how is that going to look like?
Yeah, so it essentially functions as a bid. So the foreign airlines have this bid for an upgrade system, and the US airlines don't really have that bid for an upgrade system, but they'll allow you to essentially say, hey, I'll pay whatever the airline's asking to go to the higher fare. And so what this bidding system more or less will allow you to do, it's not let's set a bid and the airlines align them up and take the highest to lowest. This is more just matching the value that a consumer is willing to pay for an upgrade with essentially the airline's offer of, hey, here's what we will sell this seat for. And so, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to ask, is there going to be a guideline? Like, how does someone supposed to know? Do we put in 50? Is that going to
Yeah.
be accepted? Is that
Yeah.
150? Are you
Yeah.
going to
So,
create some kind of guideline to
yeah,
help us?
in V2, we're going to have essentially a guideline of, hey, here's what we think has a good chance of triggering. Here's what we think is probably not going to happen, and here's an almost certain chance of triggering. And I think what's great about Autopilot is we have all this data that we can see from our existing customers and just data that we're collecting where we can say, hey, we know JFK to LAX, like the lowest they sell one of those premium select upgrades for is whatever, $200. And so we can essentially give that data to our customers to say, hey, here's the best possible price. It is not going to go lower than this. Or, hey, you're overbidding. We think you can get it for a lot lower. And when we think about that transaction product of, hey, I want you to just upgrade me when you find the right offer. That is essentially just going to be, hey, if you put in 500 and we see it for 200, we're not going to charge you the 500. We're going to charge you the 200 and maybe a small processing fee, a $5 processing fee, something like that. But that is kind of a, hey, this is the maximum amount I want to go to whatever, Los Angeles in first class. If you see it, take it.
And is that only going to be for the three carriers we have right now, or are we talking about, or is this more of when you roll in more carriers down the line?
Uh, the auto transactions are probably going to be before we see the next three groups of carriers, but that is something that will expand to those other carriers when we add them.
Okay. Okay, great.
So the last kind of interesting thing that I want to show you is essentially this price graph that you can see here in Autopilot. So I love checking this. I'm obsessed. I come every day to this page, and more or less, I'm just you don't need to come. Autopilot will do all the checking in the background and will automatically get you savings if we find a lower fare. However,
I'm sorry, Linda, can you put yourself on mute? Linda? I know there's three. Yes. Thank you. Appreciate it.
yeah. So I love just checking this page. You don't need to. Autopilot will handle everything if the price goes down and you never even notice it. But what I love about this page is it essentially shows you on a daily basis, hey, what is the price in an apples to apples comparison for the exact itinerary that I booked? And so we can see that, I booked it for 40,000, 42,000, and really since I booked, it's been up at 75,000, which is crazy. And it dipped a little bit and, went back up, and it might go up and down before departure. But I know that if the price goes down below what I booked, Autopilot will send me an alert and I'll get essentially the lower fare for this ticket.
Sam, I think this is the first time I've ever seen a graph from a points ticket. I mean, I've seen it obviously for cash, but this may be the first time I've ever seen a historical graph on points. Is it? Or is anyone
Yeah,
else seen?
possibly, very possibly. So we track points fares, cash fares, and again, if the price goes down below this green line, which is the price that you've booked at, in the points setting, you'll get an alert. In the cash setting, you'll essentially get an email from us saying, "Hey, we've claimed a lower fare on your behalf."
Okay, this is awesome. So some of us only thought this was only for cash. I mean, it's heavy on the point side. This is great.
Yeah. And one thing just to quickly mention, because I get this question a lot, is like, hey, why did it not pull from October 29th to November 3rd? Like, what was happening there? And there are a few different reasons for that. But one thing that I do think is very important to mention is that this is only on an apples to apples comparison. So if you booked the 6 a.m. flight, we are only looking at the 6 a.m. in economy. And in this case, I think I booked like a Comfort Plus. I'm a little tall, so it just makes a long flight a little easier. They probably weren't selling Comfort Plus for a few days. Maybe it sold out, or maybe it's they weren't selling it for whatever reason, which does strangely happen. So all that to say that yeah, this is the points price. It goes up and down. We have this on cash tickets as well, and essentially this graph will get emailed to you the day before you depart, and then it'll kind of go away. But we are working on a way that you can kind of see kind of a look back of historical graphs from reservations uh, that you've used or flown on.
Is the graph purely informative, or is there actually action that we should do? I mean, if I come here and I see something, should I set something up, or how does this help me? I guess maybe other than just kind of seeing where that it's tracking.
Yeah, it is purely informational. There is no action that is needed from this graph. Every once in a while, we'll have customers like look at it and like, just like to see that like the peace of mind that the fare hasn't gone down. And this graph is again just purely informational. There is no, it's just cool to see how the price goes up and down over time for your flights. And I don't know about you, but I love looking at this every day to just like, peace of mind that I got the lowest fare, even though I know that Autopilot's handling it for me in the background no matter what.
Yeah, I know Lynn asked a question which I think is interesting, although I think it's going to be kind of unwieldy at some point. She was kind of talking about sometimes we have a lot of different flight options. Like, should I take this route or should I take this route? Because sometimes that affects too. Sometimes price is not always the only thing. You're looking at routing and time, and then price comes into play too. Do you see a future where Autopilot can maybe help reduce the noise and like help us decide this? I know right now we're just talking about version one, but do you see version two or version three, something down the line, where helping us choose that itinerary in a sense as well?
Without a doubt. I think as we think about this in V1, it is exclusively how do we help you get the lowest possible fare between the time that you booked and the time that you fly. And that is something that we've perfected more or less, and something that we've seen a lot of great receptivity to. As we've been doing this, we've been collecting a ton of data on various airline prices, and even when we're tracking the price of your ticket, we're not only seeing the price for your exact flight, but we're also able to see essentially the prices for that entire day. And so we see this in the long term as a way for you to be able to set, again, these travel preferences where you can say, hey, you know what? Like, I'm on the 9 a.m., but for $200, I'll move to the 8 a.m. I'll go an hour earlier if I can save $200. Or, hey, again, I kind of want first class. Can I have flexibility in my travel? And, if you see the price to first any flight this day, if I'm going JFK to LAX, they could sell, Delta One, for example, for $3,000 and maybe $800 on the same day. If I have maximum flexibility in my travel and I want to fly Delta One, in the future you will be able to tell Autopilot that and say, hey, just book me on the lowest way to fly Delta One in that day, and we will be able to make that transaction.
Yeah, I'm just thinking right now, Sam, for those who are just hearing about this for the first time, I honestly think my market 40 and up is gonna love this. I mean, not everybody in the world wants to sit there and like check prices every single day. I mean, I think we have other things in the world to go do. We want to set it and be done with it. So I guess this is where it leads to the question. Let's just talk about basic premise. If they book it, we don't need a notification. You folks will do everything in the background. Is that how it works? Can you explain that process, how it works?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So essentially, you book a flight, and now, especially with Autopilot, the moment I have a plan, like if I even have an idea that I'm going to be traveling somewhere, I'm booking that flight because I know I'm just going to throw it into Autopilot, and if the price goes down, I will get a credit. If the price goes up, nothing happens, and I know that I have the best deal on the plane, or at least between the time that I knew I had the travel plans and the time I took off. And so I'm looking at all my seatmates, and I'm like, I can almost guarantee you guys paid more than I did for this flight, which is crazy and it's awesome. And so essentially what happens is you will book a flight, you will add that into Autopilot. We automatically track the fares. Again, this is an apples to apples comparison. So if you book Comfort Plus, we're only looking for Comfort Plus. If you book first class, we're only looking for first class. If you book main cabin, we're only looking for main cabin. And then when the price goes down after you've already booked, we will essentially work with the airline to get you a lower fare on your behalf. We'll file those claims. And then once we have that all set up, you will get an email from us that essentially says, hey, we found a lower fare. Here's the credits that were generated. Here's the value. If you booked a refundable fare, hey, here is the refund we secured for your original form of payment. And when it's refundable, the ticket always stays refundable as well. So, it's not going to switch again. It's apples to apples. So it's not changing from a refundable to a non-refundable. And you essentially will get an email from Autopilot saying, hey, here's everything. And if it was a non-refundable fare and you did get airline credit for future travel, that's generally valid for a year from the date that we got the lower fare, Delta being a little bit of an exception where it's a year from the original ticketing date. All that to say that those will also automatically show up in your loyalty accounts. We're able to get those added as long as, again, your loyalty number is added on the reservation.
So Sam, am I going to get a new record locator number when you do this? It's the same?
Nope. Same record locator. For those that technically know what's going on with PNRs, it is the same PNR, same record locator. We're essentially repricing the flight segments within the record.
Okay. So by the way, I may have just threw a question out there. There's a pro version and there's a free version, correct? I just want to clarify. I
Yep.
think Maeve just logged on right now. She wants to know if there's a discount with my code.
Yeah, we can set one up. We can set one up, certainly for a few free months of Pro. So Ben, why don't we talk offline about that? We'll get that set up, and we can get everybody
Okay,
trialing it
everyone.
off.
So just hanging tight. I will get you guys maybe a promo here if we get a promo code. Um, can you explain first of all the difference between? By the way, can you just explain it? How do you still have the same record locator when you find a new fare? Are you not canceling the ticket and rebooking a new flight with a new record locator? No, you're not doing that.
Nope. Nope. So
Okay.
the airlines allow within changes to existing records, PNRs, passenger name records, they allow essentially a reprice. And so what's happening behind the scenes is they are reticketing the exact same flights at the current selling price. And so theoretically, if the price went up, you could reticket and the airline would essentially force you to pay the fare difference,
Yeah.
which means the difference between what they're currently selling for and or what the flight is currently selling for and what you paid originally. And now the same is true on the inverse, where if you essentially process a reticketing, when the price goes down, the airline says, "Hey, the price on this record, on this reservation, is lower than what you originally paid." And so, according to the fair rules, meaning if you booked refundable, that would go back to your original form of payment as a refund. And if it's non-refundable, that would go into travel credit with that airline. And the one thing I do want to mention is out of the big three, American is, I guess, the least restrictive with how you use their travel credits, their trip credits as they're known. You can use an American Airlines trip credit for anyone. So those are as good as an American Airlines gift card, whereas Delta, it's a little bit more restrictive. You have to use them for the passenger in which they were issued to.
Okay, hold on. No, 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 no. I got to clarify this. This is a big deal. In America, we have flight credit and we have trip credit. Flight credit is when
Yep,
usually you cancel and you'll get a credit, but only you can use. You're telling me you're not going to give me a flight credit. You're going to give me a trip credit that I can use for anyone?
that is correct.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay. I didn't know this, by the way.
Yep.
I did
And
not know before we into this call that we are getting a trip credit.
yep. So you're getting
This is
trip credit.
huge.
And for those that are inclined with United, we are issuing future flight credits, not electronic travel certificates. For those that understand that intricacy, it's a small intricacy around what you can technically use it for. But for those that are United flyers, those come in the form of future flight credits.
Okay. Is that more restrictive or is that more liberal use of
Uh, so yeah, the electronic travel certificates, which is the one or which are the ones that we don't issue, are a little bit more free in the sense that they allow you to buy things that are not just flight fares. So they allow you to buy things like upgrades, bags, a few other kind of ancillaries, whereas future flight credits need to be used for fares. However, you can use those for example, a first class fare. And so you can essentially buy up a fair basis or whatnot, and use those credits.
So the ones that you're going to be giving them on United are the more restrictive one or the more liberal one? I wasn't
I'll,
sure.
I'll say ever so slightly more restrictive.
Okay,
To somebody
that's
who
fine.
is not a 1K, I would generally say that they are more or less the same. For
Okay,
somebody who is using these on a weekly or month, like a weekly or bi-weekly basis, the difference probably does not, amount to that much.
okay. Uh, You know, just for everyone who's listening right now, here's in essence what it can do. Instead of you going in today, you want to book a flight for 6 months from now. Instead of you going today and go, let me look at the prices. Oh, they're so high. Let me come back again next week. And then next week didn't happen. And you come back 2 weeks later and like, oh, it went down, or maybe it went up higher. Like, oh, you don't have to do any of that stuff anymore. Just buy the ticket now and then let Autopilot do the searching for you. And then, okay, here's the thing. Sam's company is not a nonprofit. They make money and they great tech, and but they do this for service. They take a 25% cut of whatever they return, so you still get 75. But look, think about this. Imagine this is my boss, and I'm doing 9 tickets. He's booking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 points or cash on American, United, or Delta, and then forgetting about it, letting them do their thing, and then next thing you know, he's getting flight credits and all this. 200 here, 100 here, $50. I mean, by the way, is there a minimum that you guys are gonna get for us, Sam?
Yeah, $20. Anything under 20, we don't process. And I think that's a happy medium because consumers, if we had a bunch of $5 credits, it's like, okay, is this more hard to use than, than useful?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, you don't need to do the Google flight alerts. You can still do it if you want to, but he's checking you for that flight. Now, maybe you want to set a Google flight alert for another flight on another time and another day. You could still do that, but for the flight that you booked, they're checking to see if that one gets any lower. And I think that's a great, great service. Next thing you know, you come back 6 months from now, you're gonna have all this flight credit. Sam, I'm just thinking about it right now. Just thinking about it right now. I have like $1,000 of flight credit from American, and I have to use it within a year. Some of
Yep.
you guys may have some of this. Instead of letting it sit there for a year, why don't I just use that and book a flight in a future that I don't have to book anyway? Because you know what? It's sitting there anyway, and it's not doing anything. And if I cancel, I cancel. I can book a flight, and then he can go search a flight for me. Let Autopilot do his thing, and then he gets me a credit. Now I got more credit. Then
That,
I mean, Sam, that's
that
not how it's supposed to be meant, but I could, right?
you absolutely could. And specifically on American, when you use that credit, find the lower fare, the new credit that gets issued is valid for yet another year.
Oh,
And so, since that's essentially a fraction, you're breaking part of the residual value.
yeah.
Generally, that's valid for a full year from the date that it was issued.
Yeah, you could push this out. You could push out your credits. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
One like pro tip or kind of insider tip that I've started to do ever since starting Autopilot has been, when I know that I'm booking a few months out, the price is high, I'm almost certain that it's going to go down, but I can't really figure out when. I don't know when it's going to go down. Also, maybe it's a little bit more that I'm willing to, lay out in cash for the flight. Maybe it's like, $1,000, for example, going to Florida in economy from New York. And I'm like, this is way too much. I know it's going to go down. It's inevitable. Often, what I'll do is I'll book a refundable ticket. And so, what we're able to do is if the price goes down, or in that case, when the price goes down, we essentially will get refunds back to my original form of payment, which is my credit card. And then once it's down, and on this leg, I feel comfortable with like a $200 or $300 fare in economy. Once it's down to the $200 or $300 level, something I'm okay locking up in airline credits, what I'll do is I'll just essentially reprice that ticket into a non-refundable. So all of essentially the money that I knew it was going to go down, or I had a very good speculation it was going to go down. I booked that as a refundable, and then at the end of the day, you can kind of switch that to a non-refundable. We don't offer that as a service yet. That's something maybe we will in the future, but you just refresh the reservation in Autopilot. We now reflect non-refundable reservation, and then we can then continue to reprice that as it goes down in the form of a trip credit instead of a refund. And so it's kind of this dual blended strategy of, hey, this is more than I'm willing to spend out of pocket and be locked up in airline credit. I have a very good feeling it's going to go down. Book refundable when it's at a point you're comfortable with, switch it to a non-refundable, refresh it in Autopilot. We'll reprice the refundables and we'll reprice the non-refundables.
Do you guys understand about refundables? Refundable means that's your cash that you're just kind of spending out there. If he thinks it'll come back down, he's basically saying you could start getting flight credits from booking refundable tickets. It's a little gamey, but I kind of like the game. I mean, I want to be honest with you. Okay, Gene has a question. If the flight credit is, let's say, $50, can you combine multiple credits to eventually buy a single flight in the future? Is that possible? Can you explain?
Yeah, so airlines don't necessarily require you to only spend one flight credit for one flight. Various airlines do have a maximum on the amount that you can spend. So, for example, I know Delta will only allow you to essentially concatenate 5 different e-credits into one reservation, or to buy for one passenger, I should say. And so they won't let you use 25 different trip credits. But as I think about this, with Autopilot, we're not generating a bunch of, small $5 credits. Everything is $20 or more. And so if you're going and trying to max out 5, e-credits on Delta, for example, you're at least going to get $100 off. And more often than not, you're going to get much more than that. But you're getting at least $100 off, even if we had 5 of essentially the minimum repricings.
All right. I'm gonna go back to the top because there's a lot of questions that came in. By the way, is there anything else you want to show, Sam? I want you to.
No,
I
no,
feel
this
like
is
I feel like I'm interrupting your flow here with your desk with your. Is there anything else that we should know? Oh, how many?
no.
Yeah, you mentioned travelers. There's travelers that. What if we book for ourselves and our family? Can we put them all on there? And will they
Yep.
all get a credit?
Absolutely. Yep. So the beauty of one kind of step back, and I know Ben mentioned this, our business model is very aligned with our customers, which is you only pay when you save. So tracking a flight in Autopilot is completely free. We only charge you a percentage of the amount that we save you. And so if we don't save you anything, if you track a flight for 12 months and for whatever reason the price doesn't go down, you pay nothing. And so this is a completely free service until we save you money. And at that, we only take essentially a percentage of what we save you. And so I like to think of it as a no brainer, but all that to say that we really architected this pricing model because, well, one, everybody's tired of subscriptions. And two, why not pay us essentially a commission on the amount that we save you? It's, it's a no brainer in my mind, at least. And I
And
hope yours as well.
yeah, so you have that as the the basic the free version of it. You do have a pro version. Can you talk a little bit about what the pro version? I heard there's a discount on the commission, right?
Yes, yeah. So on the Pro tier, there are kind of three big main features. I can actually, sorry, my Zoom window is here. Um, I can show you kind of the billing info here. So, it is essentially for the casual traveler, for anyone, you can go on our pay-as-you-go plan, which is essentially free until we save, and then at that, it is 25% of the amount that we save. Or there is our Pro tier, which for $9.99 a month or $99.99 for the annual plan, which we'll get Ben a code set up for the Pro tier for a few months. We essentially charge 15% on our lowest fare guarantee instead of 25. That, however, just one quick thing, if you book for friends and family, that 15% only applies when you are on the reservation. So if you're on the reservation, you're booking for a family of four and you are one of the passengers, everybody will get the 15%. The reason we have that is so, one big travel manager doesn't come in and start getting 15% for, a ton of people that are friends or family and trying to game that. So as long as you're on the reservation, everybody gets 15%. The second is lowest fare guarantee on award reservations. So that means you can track points and miles reservations. We don't take a cut of those savings. We don't process that for you structurally. We can't really process that for you. We'll send you an email if we find a lower fare that essentially says, hey, here's how you can do this. It'll take you 3 to 5 minutes. You'll get, again, I guess the minimum there is 1,000 points. So you'll only get an alert when there's over 1,000 points in savings. So you'll get that alert. Upgrade offers. So the feature I shared before, I want to fly in, extra legroom premium economy. Let me know when the price drops below 200 bucks. Same thing. Bump up is something we are launching in beta, which is, hey, instead of a credit, I want to actually roll this into an upgrade. So oftentimes we see that maybe we're getting a $25 credit, for example, and the price to go up to premium economy is only $20. So instead of getting you a credit, can we just roll that into essentially a free upgrade? That's something we're testing out and should have launched a little bit more broadly soon. And then also coming soon is automatic seat monitoring.
Automatic seat monitoring means that I'm in a middle seat and I'd like to get an aisle. Can I choose the seat I'm looking for?
Yep. So when that launches, you'll be able to essentially take a map, and we'll have a bunch of pre-selected custom options, or you could set specific seat alerts. So the custom options may be, hey, I'm a party of two, find me a aisle and a window with an empty middle, or hey, I'm in a middle and I want either an aisle or a window. When one pops up, just move me. Things like that.
Can I say I want extra legroom if I wasn't in? I'm like I'm sitting in the regular seat, but I want main cabin extra. I can request that somewhere as well.
Yeah, and yeah, so if that comes as a complimentary upgrade, you would be able to just like we'd be able to track that and process that for free. Upgrades for those in that case would be like based on status, for example. But for somebody who wants to pay, that would probably be more of the kind of the upgrade offer feature that we have.
Okay. And then Lucinda had a question. Go ahead, Lucinda.
Yeah, hi. Wow, this sounds so exciting, Sam. I'm booking a lot of flights that Ben's helping me with, and not all of them are through the big three. And so I was wondering, you said you're going to add some new carriers sometime soon, and which ones? And like, will I be able to book more partners with international flights? I didn't quite follow how that will. Ben, you know my situation, so
Yeah.
maybe you can explain to Sam what I'm wondering about.
She has Alaska miles, for example, and she books Starlux. Is Alaska? I know you had mentioned is Alaska in the upcoming airlines to roll out?
Yeah, Alaska, JetBlue, Southwest are kind of the next big three. Transparently, I don't really think that we have a good timeline on the budget carriers, so like Frontier and Sun
No,
Country and Spirit. Those just,
I'm
like,
not interested in those.
yeah,
As far as my question, I'm not interested in the budget carriers. It's more getting to Europe and Asia. I've got a lot of international travel coming up. And so I
yeah,
want to book with partners of the big three instead of booking directly. Is that right, Ben? Like I wouldn't book directly.
Yeah, no, you know how you have Alaska, you have American miles. So if
Yeah.
it's American flying, if you have American miles and you book international, they currently cover that. They
Uh-huh.
currently do that. As long
Okay.
as you book it with American miles, Delta miles, or United miles, you're fine. Or if you're booking American metal, United metal, or Delta metal right now.
Yeah.
yeah.
Or any
And
other.
so,
And
listen to one.
You said
Sorry.
JetBlue. So that would cover KLM and I mean, it would partner with KLM. Is that right?
So KLM is Delta. I don't know that JetBlue announced anything with
Oh, I'm thinking
KLM.
Flying Blue. I'm sorry. I was thinking Flying Blue, the loyalty program.
Got it.
Yeah,
So
my mistake.
flying. So you're talking about essentially booking flights through Flying Blue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you book a flight through Flying Blue and a lot of the international carriers, they
Uh-huh.
still have change fees associated with them.
Oh, they
And
do.
so we could theoretically support them. The problem with that is we would essentially need to clear a lower fare and clear a $150 or $200, depending on the program, change fee. And so
Ah,
that just numerically doesn't frequently, sometimes it does, but it
right.
doesn't make a lot of sense to do that. And so as we think about the US airlines, that is absolutely something that is a part of their program. But foreign carriers, I mean, I certainly hope that they bring this no change fee policy. I think just generally speaking, the US market is extraordinarily competitive, especially compared to a lot of international markets where you have one, maybe two carriers who kind of dominate the space. But in the US market, there is no change fees. And so that would apply again for example, Starlux booked through Alaska, assuming
Okay.
we
Okay.
support Alaska in the future. However, the one thing I do want to mention is on a lot of these partners, again, it's like a fixed rate. So if you book Starlux through Alaska, I don't know the award chart off the top of my head, but I think it's like 70,000 miles in business class or maybe 35 for economy. And so it's not necessarily variable. So we would theoretically be able to support it, and you can add the flight into Autopilot. It just might not necessarily provide a ton of value on the
Mm,
partner airlines. Does that make sense?
I think so. Yes, it does kind of. And most of my I don't really fly nationally. Most of my flying is international. So, and it sounds like that is it would kind of work with autopilot, but not as well as if I were flying a lot within this country.
Lucinda, if you can do international if you're using American miles. So all your American flights,
Yeah.
all your American mile flights like on Air TD Nui, if you're going to end up using
Okay.
American miles for British Airways or Qantas or you
Okay.
got to use American miles. So for you right now, you just have to use American miles. All your
Okay.
other non-American miles are not going to work for autopilot for right now.
Right. Okay. Okay. Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you, Sam, and thank you, Ben, for translating.
Yeah. Sam, clarification. I think now we're bigger. Is the way that you do cash tickets the way that you're able to do it seamlessly? Is that going to be the same on points ticket, or do we have to do some kind of action on points tickets?
Yeah, so on points tickets, just structurally how they work, we can't essentially automatically reprice them, but we have a ton of tickets or not tickets, we have a ton of tricks on how to help you do that in a very quick way. And that comes in the email of like, hey, we found the lower fare, 3 to 5 minutes. Here's what you can do to get the lower points price. You can have that locked in and really kind of set it and forget it. Just last night, I got from for my sister is flying home next week. She's in school, and I think we saved 10,000 sky miles on like a 2 hour domestic flight. So very seamless, and might have taken me 5 minutes tops to claim the lower fare on that one.
And was that over the phone? Was that email, or was that over online that you were able to make that change?
So you can do all three. The fastest one for me was, and this is how you can do it on points if you're doing it yourself online. The absolute fastest way is to change to a different flight, confirm that change, and then change back. And so you'll essentially pay more miles, you'll get the miles refunded, and you'll get that difference back.
Okay, so just basically find another flight and then cancel and refund the
Yeah.
ticket
Or
back.
you could cancel and rebook if you wanted to do that. I didn't want to do that,
Okay.
but there are plenty of ways to do that
Okay.
pretty
So
quick.
does you're looking for flights then, or it's not exactly the 6 o'clock flight. You're looking for other flights then that are in that case for points?
No, on award flights, we are looking for just the same one.
Same
What
flight.
I'm saying is like one of the ways to make the change online without having to call is to just change to a different flight and change back. Because they won't let you change to the same flight and get the money back by doing it online. It's a little convoluted, but it's a very quick way to do that in like 3 to 5 minutes.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. Gene, you had a question. By the way, I haven't forgotten everybody else's question. We'll get to everyone else's question. Go ahead, Gene.
Hey Sam. So just to clarify, for award bookings, it's not you guys changing the details using the PNR. It's gonna be an alert that's sent to us, but then it's gonna have to be the same flight. Um, is that right?
Yeah, correct. I think maybe I confused people a little bit with the award booking. So just to clarify, cash bookings, we reprice it for you. You'll get an email with or from us with all of the details of here's how much you saved. If there are credits, here are the credit numbers and how to use them. But for awards, we'll send out an email that says, hey, we saved you, or we found a lower fare on this flight and it is 10,000 miles lower in 3 steps. Here's how you can claim it. One of them is canceling and rebooking. One of them is contacting the airline, or it's kind of changing to a different flight and coming back. But all that to say that between points and revenue fares, we are looking for essentially an apples to apples comparison. The tech is not there to kind of look for other flights and make changes to other reservation or to other flight times and stuff. That tech is coming, but that tech isn't there right now. And so we are only looking for an apples to apples comparison of the flight that you are currently booked on.
So that means then you'd have to have um more points to do the new booking, and then
Not
no.
no. So we only look. So if you do a points flight, let me just quickly go back here. Tracked prices. So we'll see that the price I paid, whatever this is, 42,000 or 41,000 points for this flight. The price is higher. So I'm not getting any alerts. Uh, if the price goes down, let's say it goes down here, the graph would modify a little bit, but say it goes down below what I booked, Autopilot would send me an email. And if you don't have any other points and you just want to get the lowest fare, probably the easiest way to do it is just to cancel and rebook. And so as long as you're diligent about that, the availability should still be there, but you should definitely double check that. I do want to give that disclaimer. But you can essentially cancel. The points will be redeposited instantly, and then you use those points to book the same exact flight at the lower fare that we found and emailed you about.
Wouldn't there be a risk that you're gonna lose that seat though?
Sometimes there is. Usually if you are on top of it, that doesn't really happen. We've never had that happen. If you wanted to do it in the same record, essentially without canceling and rebooking, you can call the airline. All I'll say is, in my experience, sometimes you'll wait on hold with the airline longer than it would be for you to just do this online, in which case, if somebody's going to take that seat, uh, if somebody's going to take that one seat at the lowest fare, you're generally best off canceling and rebooking. But if you have executive platinum and you get directly to a human, and they can do this for you.
Okay.
What is the suggested amount of time, Sam? What if I get this alert at 3 in the morning? If it gets 3 in the morning, I woke up at 6 and I see 3 hours later. What are the likelihood it's still like live or good or or I mean or you're I mean I was just saying I'm like should it be one of those things you got to book within the first 30 minutes, 1 hour or something like that, or is that usually not an issue?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, like we have some like last minute like award space stuff that like can really be gone in 5 minutes. I mean, especially like we're like looking at some, last minute J space, like very deep discounted saver space going to like Japan, for example. That can be gone in like 5 or 10 minutes. But if you're doing something with a ton of volume or something that's more than like a week out, generally I'd say you have a few hours to claim it. Generally speaking, the airlines reprice their tickets that they're selling to you. When you see the fare changing, that is the airlines repricing. They do that adjustment generally about 3 times a day. And generally speaking, they're somewhere in the morning Eastern time. So that's generally between, I guess, 8 and 10 a.m. Eastern, and then once or twice, depending on the airline, in the afternoon Eastern time. So generally between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. So all that to say that assuming somebody else doesn't take that lower fare, your main risk is around those times of the price changing.
Okay. Gene asked to if they prepaid for a seat selection, will they refund that back? But I think if you are booking the same ticket, it doesn't really matter because you're not going to lose the seat, right?
That's actually a great question. So when we think about what Autopilot does, we are looking for an apples to apples comparison. And that means that if you have for example, a preferred seat that you purchased for $50. If we can't guarantee that that seat stays, we do not reprice. And that does happen every once in a while where we go to try and reprice the reservation and we see that that upgraded seat would be lost. What would happen is the airline would refund that, essentially that upsell, that ancillary charge, back to the customer. So say you paid $50 for the seat and we did go ahead and reprice that ticket, the airline would just refund that, and then you would need to go back and select that seat and make the payment transaction again. But all that to say that when we can't guarantee that the seat stays the same, we don't reprice the ticket.
Okay, great. Um, One burning question they have here is, let's say I book a ticket and it reprices and I just kept it. If it reprices again, will I get another credit again? I mean, will it keep on giving me
Yep.
credits I mean, until the day of the flight?
Yeah, our record right now is 12. So
12 on one ticket?
somebody, yep. So on one reservation, somebody booked I think 10 or 11 months out. And between then and the time that they departed, we repriced it a dozen times. Yeah. So price goes down as long as it's over $20 in savings, we'll reprice it.
So I should just book out a year in advance now.
Yeah. I li literally, and it is when you know you have an inkling of a plan, just book it, and if the price goes down, we'll protect you.
Okay, Jay. I'm not sure, by the way, who Jay is. Is that Jerome or is that Janelle? I'm not sure who asked that question, but thank you for asking the question. All right. Anyone else? Maeve says, what about fare buckets? Uh, what about fare buckets on award tickets? Do you let us know if a quarter of the price tickets go down?
Uh, uh, can you read that one more time?
What about the fare buckets on award tickets? Do you let us know if 1/4 of the tickets of the prices go down?
So if there was a party of
Yeah.
four, but
Oh,
there
one
was
of
only
four.
one,
Oh,
yeah.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, yeah. Um, no. So we don't do that. That is something we can potentially layer on in the future. The airlines essentially, as you've correctly stated, they only have a certain amount of inventory in each fare bucket, more or less. And so there are ways where, again, as we talk about this version 2 automation, where you can say, hey, I want to do various things. There are ways where you can essentially split the reservation into two passengers, for example, and then you can reprice one of them, and then because there is space in, to reprice one, but not the other. That is something that we can do in version two, but right now we're only looking for, hey, if you were to buy this ticket new for the exact same thing, what's it going to cost? And if that price is lower than what you booked, we'll get that difference for you.
Carol would like to know how close into the departure date could you change from a refundable non-refundable? Like, if you want refundable, can you always change it to non-refundable or cancel? I mean, I don't know if there's a time frame on that, is there?
Yeah, going from refundable to non-refundable, there is no time frame. Going from non-refundable to refundable very much depends on the route, and generally there isn't, but sometimes they'll, for example, not sell a refundable ticket within 72 hours of departure, in some cases a week of departure, but you can almost always go from a non-refund or from a refundable to a non-refundable.
Carol, as someone who buys cash tickets a lot for many years, I mean, 21 days out is kind of like where your prices start to change. And then we get to 14, it starts to get higher. Then you get seven, it starts to get, really like if you're within the week of, that's probably high enough. So I probably wouldn't move from refundable, non-refund and start changing around. Like once we're in that 21, 14, and especially 7 day mark, Carol. So I would just, if you're gonna play the quote unquote the game, I would like by the 3 week mark, I would start making that change because it starts the airfare on cash starts to go up.
I was trying to change a flight and the price went like from $350 to $1,000 and it's in December.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
what
especially
what part
holiday
of
flights.
December? Is this like holiday December,
Yeah.
like the 18, 19?
Yeah, the 21st.
Yeah, yeah, that's yeah, because people are booking that now. Because right, as soon as we hit into like Halloween, by the way, Carol, people start thinking, boom, they're thinking Christmas. I was walking through O'Hare last weekend, and they're already putting up this Christmas decoration. They skipped Thanksgiving, went right to Christmas already. So like people are thinking Christmas right now. So yeah, if you're thinking about Christmas, you better start booking your tickets already, everyone.
Yeah, bad news, unfortunately, I guess maybe inopportune timing, is that last week, at least from our data, Christmas flights were I guess the best time to book Christmas flights from our data was last week. The week before being a close second. This week we are seeing a bit of a hike in Christmas flights. However, I will say that again, as Ben just said, as it gets much closer to departure, especially as more people are flying, there's a ton of demand. The prices are only going to go up. So buy them now, add them into Autopilot. If the price does go down, we'll get you the lower fare. But yeah, unfortunately, last week was really we saw a ton of repricing volume, lower fare volume from Christmas travel. So now is the next best time to book.
By the way, do you mind showing us, Sam, maybe just like how we go about to set up an autopilot reservation? Like if we wanted to go, could you just take us through at least one, just so I know what we have to do if we're ready to go do this?
Yeah. So do you want me to walk you through the onboarding? Like I can create a
Oh,
new account if you want. Yeah.
sure, sure.
All right.
Yes.
Awesome. So let me just, I'm gonna close out of this. Of course, it stopped sharing. Give me 1 second. Let me set up a new tab. And then, all right, awesome. You can see my
Yeah,
screen.
yeah,
Awesome. So I'm gonna go to our website, which is withautopilot.com. You can kind of look through everything here, but I will get right to the point and show you how to sign up. I'm gonna test Ben's big deal demo at gmail.com. Cool. So we can sign up. We will be added to this onboarding where we can see, we can just add our name. So Sam Hollander. Invite code, you don't need one, but Ben will send one around and that'll get you guys all free pro. So for a few months. So maybe hold off on that. Or Ben, if you know your invite code, I can get that for you.
Let's go with B. Can we do with BBD? That's the easiest
Yeah,
for us. BBD
sure.
is usually the
If
best.
you add BBD, you need to give me like 10 minutes after we get
Yeah.
off the call, and I'll add BBD.
Yeah.
So just use BBD when you're signing up, and then we can get that added. Send Ben, if you've already signed up, send Ben a note, and I can get that added to your account. Just tell him the email that you signed up with. Um, Cool. So we can add that. And then here's where we'll be prompted to uh, add our first few flight reservations. So if you wanted to link a Gmail and we can automatically pull in your reservations that are in that Gmail as they come in the future, we can do that here. Or you can manually import the flight. So I can do Sam Hollander. Let's pull in. I don't know if I have any United. Let's see if I have a Delta. Actually, I definitely have a Delta to this weekend. Um, we do that, and then we'll add the confirmation code, which if you give me 1 second. All right, that
Everyone,
is
you already have to have already booked a flight, everyone. So assuming you already have a flight that you can enter in, go ahead and enter one of those flight numbers in the
cool.
record locator.
So we'll add that. It'll take a second, but we will see that in there, hopefully in a second. Cool, we've added your reservation. We'll click add a flight. And then this is where we'll have you link a card. And so that's how we charge our service fee. Flights won't get tracked until you link a card. And so I would recommend doing that at onboarding, but you can do that after you sign up as well. There's a prompt in the platform for that. And then here we are. We can see the flight that I already added going down to North Carolina this weekend. And we can see that I can start tracking it. I just need to link a card first, and there's a button that will bring me right here, and I can link a card again. Yeah, and so this will get tracked up until departure. If the price goes down, this was, yeah, a cash fare that I paid. Price goes down, we'll get you the lower fare automatically.
And as you said, it also applies to partner airlines using United, American, or Delta miles.
Exactly. So if this was a Air France ticket, or sorry, an Air France flight going from JFK to Paris, and I booked that through Delta, we can add that in right here. Not a problem. Even if it's operated by Air France or KLM or Virgin Atlantic, as long as it's booked through Delta, we can
And
track it.
what if the flight was booked with like United Travel Bank, for example? Does that make a difference what method they use to book it? It's
No.
okay.
As long as it's booked directly through United, which would be United's website or United's app, or if there are other ways, I guess technically, as long as it's considered a direct booking with the airline,
Yeah.
we can track it.
What about a flight booking through the third parties? If it came through a Chase portal or an Amex portal, can you track that as well?
No.
No.
So these
No.
have to be direct bookings with the airlines. So they can't be issued by a OTA or a third party.
Oh, really? So there's some technical issue there then, I guess, on those ones.
Yeah.
Ah, okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. So it has
So
to be.
it's the best analogy is if you book with an online travel agency, I don't know how many of you have experienced this where your flight gets like delayed or canceled and you need to make a change and it's super stressful because you gotta call the OTA or Chase Travel or Amex Travel and say, hey, I'm in JFK and my flight's delayed an hour and I need to get to on a different flight. Like the airline will tell you, hey, you got to go call the OTA. And so it's a very similar mechanic here where we have to essentially have a direct booking so that we can essentially process that change.
Okay. So because they book through some GDS, you can't, but if they do NDC, you can.
Yeah, and even with NDC, we're actually working through specifically on NDC what that looks like because there was a big OTA I spoke with last week who said that it was a direct booking, and then we looked into it and they told us it was through NDC, but I don't think it was, and I think it depends specifically on how they book it through NDC. Which if you're interested, we could spend a whole hour talking about that specifically. Which I'm sure there are some people who would be interested in that, and Ben definitely happy to uh, chat about that. But yeah, some GDS we can't support.
So I mean, Bill has said that they have make it a direct booking, but I'm not sure. Is that going to not work if it went through built?
Uh, that is what I tested yesterday,
Okay,
and it
okay,
appears as if
yeah, because that one is, that one's
yeah.
kind of iffy.
It,
Okay, I get
yeah,
it.
it's funny because they say that it's an NDC booking, and when you look into like the mechanics of the PNR, it doesn't really have a lot of at least to me and what I can see. I don't want to say that it's not. It didn't look as if it was an NDC booking, although it might very well be, and we need to deal with this new format. But that's totally something, a problem for the future. So.
Yeah, NDC, everyone, that's like the new distribution channel that American made a big deal about a few last year. They wanted all the travel agents. They basically the NDC means they're going through the internet instead of going through this third party old system way that they've been doing since the 1970s. It's a big thing within business travel for last year now. Um, uh, Vasu lost his job over American Airlines because of it, because he tried to push all he got rid of all their sales agents. He's like, we're going to go direct. We don't need all these agents to push it. And they realized like the business traveler wasn't ready to make that change yet, or all the companies weren't ready to make that change yet. So anyway, stuff in the background, it doesn't really matter, but it does matter when it comes to this, because in the end, in order for him to make that changes, it needs to be done in a certain way. So, I mean, what Sam's telling us, like they don't change it, the PNR, and it stays the same. That passenger number record look, it stays the same. Like I didn't even know you could reprice it on the back end. Like this is news to me. Like this is the first time I ever heard like you can even do that. Like I thought I understood it, but Sam just told me something. So I'm guessing because it is a direct booking, he can be able to negotiate directly with them. I don't know how you did that, Sam, but that's great. And you probably can't do the same thing when you're doing it with a third party, because I guess they get in the way and they have different tech. So
Yeah,
okay.
and some third parties will allow it. So like Capital One Travel, for example, is a great is a great example of this, where they have this price matching policy, but you need to know about it. First of all, you need to track the fare yourself. They're not just generally issuing these refunds. And so you essentially need to contact them and say, "Hey, I found a lower fare." They'll be like, "Oh, let me look into it. Yeah, I'm right," or "Yeah, you're right." And then they'll issue, for example, a Delta E credit that can only be used on a Delta flight that is booked through Capital One Travel. So it's, as I would say, immensely more restrictive than just booking direct with the airline and getting a Delta E credit that you can use for essentially any Delta flight.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to bore people with more acronyms, but just curious. All right. Does anyone have any other questions? If not, I want to thank Sam. Thank you for joining us today and sharing us all about Autopilot. I guess we are all understand this a little bit better now than we did when we walked in. If you can get us that code. So, by the way, those who signed up under my link just a minute ago, they don't need to do anything. We just got to wait until you tell us, and or we will. Or I need to tell you the names of those who
Yeah,
signed up.
yeah. If you tell me the names, I can look it up. Uh,
I think
Ben,
I have Lynn. I think I have Lynn Bundy and Lena Cinder, Senior. If there's anybody else that signed up before already, just go ahead and tell me. Okay, Rocio did. So I'll send you a list. I'll send you a
Yeah,
list.
yeah, and we can get that added, and then yeah, I will also get that code set up so that you guys can get a few free months of Pro. So let me quickly make that change, Ben, to
Chief
Ben,
has.
I had signed up before. I don't
Yeah,
know if that makes a difference.
it doesn't matter. We'll just sign. Well, I know, but we'll just we're gonna extend the perk
yeah,
of.
we'll make sure everybody who signed up gets it, and if you don't, just please shoot Ben a note, and Ben will contact me, or if you want to send me an email, sam@withautopilot.com. BBD, sorry, just doing that override right now. sam@withautopilot.com. Just say that you were in Ben's
Group.
group, and then we will get that taken care of. What would also just be very helpful if you email me direct is the email that you signed up with. That's just the easiest way to look you up and get that added. So if you could just email me with your name, or Ben with your name and email, that would be great.
What's the email they to is back at Sam at get all pilot. Okay.
Yeah, and Ben, the discount is, or not the discount, sorry, the
Oh,
BBD invite code is live, so everybody can sign
okay.
up with BBD as the invite code, and then we'll get that taken care of with Ben.
Okay. Folks who did sign up, just send me the here, just send me your email that you signed up with and I'll send it to him. RMDLT. I think there was a question. I'm not sure. Gene asked if why is a credit card needed if we're going to get a flight credit anyway? I mean, I think go ahead. I'll let you answer that, Sam, but I'm pretty sure what.
Yeah. So the airline issues the savings directly to you. So we can't essentially split an e-credit, for example, into 75/25. So what happens is the airline, if we saved you $100, the airline issues you $100 in an e-credit or $100 in a travel credit or a future flight credit. We then will charge your linked card for 25% of the value of that credit. So if we save you $100, the airline will issue you a $100 credit, and we will charge the linked card for $25 or 15 if you're on the Pro.
Okay.
So that's how that works. Just since we can't take a like break the credit more or less,
So
that's how
the
we're able to.
so the fly will get the full credit then, and then they just pay it off the credit card. So they'll earn some points from the credit card to paying you. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, and totally off the record, we code as general travel for Chase. So if you have a Sapphire Preferred, and if you used to have a reserve as well, that codes as 2x for all of that.
Or use your City Strata. I don't know.
Yes,
I don't know.
yes,
I don't know. City Strata is travel still. I think it's airline. I think they do airline now. But Amex Gold. I'm sorry, Amex Green does travel 3x. Amex Green.
yeah,
Everyone Amex Green.
yeah. It should. I don't. I only
Or
have the
Ink
Sapphire, so
Preferred.
I know that for sure.
Ink Preferred as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
Ink Preferred
yeah,
is travel. So
yeah,
Ink Preferred, Chase Sapphire Preferred, green card on the Amex for 3x. Or it's
yeah,
Sapphire Preferred to 2x. Or the Build card is still 3x? No, yes. No, 2x. Build card is
yeah,
2x.
two. Yeah,
Build
yeah.
X 2x. Okay. Let's see. Anyone else? Um Lynn's pushing for Zorkfest. Are you coming to any conferences or anything like that? Or do you know any about any conferences, Sam? Or are you going to somewhere to make this launch and make a big splash so the whole world knows about it?
No, if you have any ideas, we would really appreciate it. I'm totally up to speaking and
You should
getting
come
autopilot out there. Where?
to
Well, there's
Zorkfest. We'll talk you up.
Zorkfest is coming up in December, the first week of December. I mean, if you've been reading Points Miles for a while, you probably know Miles Talk, David
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Grossman. Gary Left, the godfather
yeah,
of
yeah.
Points of Miles, the view from the wing. He will be there. He's a keynote speaker at that. He'll be hanging out there. It's a smaller, intimate one. Carissa from Rove Miles will be there as well. Rome.travel is a sponsor of the event. So we got some pretty big names. And they bring like airline and the casino loyalty program. So the
Yeah.
MGM, all that, they kind of put that together. It's going to be the M Resort on December 6th to the 8th. I will be there. I will be speaking on
And I'll
content creation for them as well. And Lynn will be there as well.
and a few of
Awesome.
us, and we would say really nice things about you.
Thank you. Thank you. I will try and make it out.
And then Linda, who's here in our group, Linda Lay, she's also one of the organizers for Chicago seminars
Wonderful.
next year. So maybe you want
Yeah.
to consider coming out next year to Chicago
I would
seminars.
love to next year. I know that I very by a small margin missed this year, but I would love to come out next year and talk more about Autopilot and what we're building.
Okay, Lynn Bundy, just send me your email that you used to sign up, so I'll send it out to Sam.
Okay.
All right. All right, folks. Yeah, definitely. Eric, maybe you want to come join us at Zorkfest. That's the niche product out there. Anyway, folks, thank you everyone for joining. Sam, it was a pleasure. Thanks for taking us through the whole process. Thank you for the promo code. I know we'll definitely take advantage of that. By the way, how much time do we have on? Is it like 2 months? Is it 3 months on the Pro? Like how much time are you gonna give us free on the Pro there?
Oh boy, we can get 3 months set up.
Okay, 3 months, folks. 3 months for free on the Pro, guys. So that's nice. That's so nice of you. Thank you so much, Sam. And we'll definitely give you some feedback on it as well. Do you need some help from us? Do we need to write a review or do something like that, or link something like that? Tell everybody about
We
it.
We don't need any reviews. We need you to tell everybody you know about it. And for those who are still here, who are still watching, that have interest in sharing your referral code, we do have referral promo. So for every dollar that we save one of your referrals, we'll process that same dollar in fee-free repricings up to $1,000. So if you refer a friend who saves $500, we will process your next $500 in savings without a repricing fee. And so please, if you have friends that travel a lot or maybe travel once a year, just send them your referral link and get them added and yeah, get their flights and travel plans added to Autopilot.
Okay, okay. Is there a maximum on this referral?
Yeah, $1,000.
1,000.
So, crazy big,
So let me
refer
just let
we
me
match.
just clarify. If I send it to somebody and they save $500, you're saying that you're going to waive the next $500 of commission free that, on our end when we book, when
Yeah,
we
so
say,
we're gonna waive the next, I guess, 575 of our fees out of pocket at the 25%. So meaning your next 500 is processed fee free, which is essentially a $75 benefit for you, which
Sure.
means that, if you max it out at $1,000, that's $250 worth of saved repricing fees that we would have charged you on your future repricings.
Okay. Lynn, if you have people who are interested, just make sure you give them your referral link code after you sign up. Just do that. And then Sam, if there are other groups out there that are interested in having you come talk to them, I don't know, are you open to chatting with other
Wi-
travel groups?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Please
Yeah.
send them my way.
All right. Lynn, just make sure they sign up with your code. All right. All right, folks. Thank you again for joining. I put my link in there, folks, so you can sign up, and we'll definitely get you. I got Rocio, Lynn, and Linda, who already signed up. Anybody else who already signed up before today or before the code? If not, just sign up and put BBD in the promo code over. Okay. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Sam.
Bye.
Great having you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Ben.
Hey, Ben, I have a question real quick.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Um, can you explain to me again how the multiple credits work? Like
He's just saying, let's say it was $1,000 and it came
right,
down and you saved 750. You're
right.
just still gonna leave it there. If it goes down again, they're gonna give you another credit. If it goes down again, they'll give you another credit.
So
So
you basically just leave it there.
I mean, it's your ticket. You're gonna fly that ticket. You're gonna fly that flight anyway. So
Yeah,
the sooner you turn it on or the sooner you book your flight, the better because it starts to look for you earlier. Basically, you don't need to like check prices anymore. Just book the thing and let Autopilot check for you, is what
right,
we're saying. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But mainly, but book refund or refundable, right?
No, no, you
No,
can book non-refundable, you'll get a credit. If you book refundable, you're gonna have to put more money out. Refundable costs more than a
right.
non-refundable. But if you want to play the game of I want to book $1,000 refundable tickets and you don't mind putting 1,000 out there for 12 months, right? And
Yeah,
then it goes down, they'll give you back cash because you refunded. So if you're willing to do that game, then and you're tracking prices, like you can go to Google Flights and you can see what the prices look like of certain
right.
flights. So yeah,
The
if you
pattern
want
or
if you want to
whatever.
turn it into a game, you absolutely could and just cancel it and get back cash and then get flight credits. So yes, the people who want to go down the refundable route, they're gambling a little bit, but
Yeah,
I mean, you're not really gambling too much because the refundable means you're gonna get it back anyway, completely in cash.
that was
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. So you could do that way as well. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Have a good night, everyone.